Alex Bregman mashed in his Red Sox debut in spring training on Sunday. Good signs for the future? That's on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And want to know the best part? It's free. So you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Monday. Spring training is officially underway. We did get to watch the Red Sox play a few spring training games over the weekend. Their exhibition game against Northeastern, which they did win, although that doesn't count towards their spring training schedule. And then got their first win of spring training on Saturday over the Rays, and then took a loss against the Blue Jays on Sunday. But lots of exciting things happened. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Alex Bregman and Garrett Crochet, who both made their debuts with the Red Sox in Sunday's game. And I'm also going to be giving some injury updates to some key players as we get closer and closer to opening day. Now, because it's the end of February and almost March already, can you believe that? The Red Sox are going to want to start getting their starters some more reps. I mean, during spring training games, you really do see a mix of prospects and current major leaguers that are playing in those contests, because the guys who are currently on the team need to be able to see live pitching, and from a pitcher's perspective, need to be able to throw to live batters before the season starts. So expect to see some of these guys get worked into the fold. And what I found interesting so far is Alex Bregman getting reps at third base. In Sunday's game, he was playing third, and the whole conversation about him versus Devers and who's going to play third on opening day hasn't really come to a resolution yet, at least publicly. And the Red Sox are still supposedly trying to figure out the infield situation. And the other day, I was thinking about it a little bit more, and, you know, what the pros and cons are to Alex Bregman playing third versus Alex Bregman playing second. And while there are pros and cons to both, we think about the overall well-being of the team. And we have to say, okay, to an extent, should we just try to make Devers happy and let him stay at third and just have Bregman play second? But ultimately, what it's going to come down to, I think, is the opportunity for Christian Campbell and Vaughn Grissom. If one of those guys performs well enough in the spring to where they get the call up for opening day, then Bregman plays third and Devers DHs. If those two guys are not really having the best spring, or the Red Sox feel like they need more time in AAA, Bregman plays second and Devers plays third. I just think that is what it is. And I really do think those young players that are fighting for second base right now are going to be a factor in what happens with Alex Bregman. But there's no doubt about the offensive productivity that he's going to bring, despite the fact that there's still a question surrounding where he's going to play in the field. We know he's going to bring an absolutely big bat to Boston, and he mashed in Sunday's game. He went 3 for 3 with a single, a double, and a monster home run. So he was obviously on cycle watch in that spring training game, but then he did get pulled, so he didn't get a chance to hit the triple. But he crushed baseballs in that game. And if you think it's promising now that he was crushing baseballs in a Grapefruit League game, imagine how that's going to look at Fenway Park, a ballpark that he, throughout the course of his career, has historically hit very well at. That bodes very well for his success rate going into the season, because a lot of people are talking about Bregman in the offseason and saying how his offensive numbers have declined the last couple years, which, sure, that's not really a fully unfair evaluation to make, but his numbers at Fenway have not declined. His numbers at Fenway have consistently been way better than a lot of other players that we've seen hit there. And from the standpoint of wanting to have a guy in there who can consistently hit well at your home ballpark, that's very promising for a guy like Bregman. And the fact that he was crushing the ball hard in his first spring training game with the team when he just joined the team last week because he hadn't signed anywhere up until a week ago. So he didn't really know whose spring training he was going to be reporting to. That is so promising to know that he's still hitting absolute cannons. And he did change a little bit in his mechanics going into this year, because when he went 3 for 3 in Sunday's game, he was kind of talking about what he felt like helped him get through it, because he had always said that his first spring training game every season always made him a little jittery, but it certainly did not feel that way in this game on Sunday. His 3-year, $120 million deal with 2 opt-outs is definitely looking like it was so worth it for the Red Sox based on that kind of performance that he gave. But he did make a mechanical tweak in his swing to allow for him to be able to be successful. He was doing some things early in his career that he kind of stopped doing the last few years, and he's really been trying to push now. He was a little more turned in, and his hands were launching from a lot further back over the last few years when he was swinging. So he and the Red Sox have tried to kind of keep them inside his frame during the game on Sunday, and it felt good for him to square a few balls up. So I'm sure that small adjustment in terms of his stance and where he's actually taking his swing from is going to help him out a lot when it comes to this upcoming season and where he's going to perform in terms of the Red Sox offense. He's joining the Red Sox after coming off an average offensive season with the Astros last year, in which he batted .260 with 26 home runs and 76 RBIs. He's really hoping to grow off of that this season, and all signs definitely point to his swing being tailor-made for Fenway, with a historic 1.240 OPS and .375 batting average there. That's all a big piece of evidence for that. And also the fact that while JetBlue Park obviously isn't Fenway, it is a pretty close replica of it. And he took advantage of that massive wall in left field, blasting that second inning home run over the Green Monster there, and rung the double off the wall a couple innings later to bring in a run. And he singled to right in his first at bat. So he definitely was taking advantage of all parts of the field. And it's promising to see that, because if he's able to take advantage of having a big swing and going out there and making a huge splash at JetBlue Park, we have no reason to believe that won't transition over to Fenway during the season. Craig Breslow said during Bregman's introductory press conference last week that the veteran infielder has an offensive profile that fits our park almost perfectly. I 100% agree with that. I mean, his numbers anywhere else are unmatched compared to what they are at Fenway. And even more so now with his tweaked swing, that might be even more true, that he might find even more success now at Fenway Park because of the fact that he's finding a little bit more success in terms of these mechanical changes that he's making. So if you're watching Sunday's game and you're thinking, wow, Alex Bregman actually hit the ball really well, expect that to continue. Now, again, obviously it's only spring training, so we have a ways to go until the season does start. And this is when guys really work on trying to get themselves acclimated and are trying to figure out, what type of condition they're going to be in when the season starts and how to go about their business in the best way so that they succeed. So things like this, with Bregman trying to make changes to his swing, for example, and his stance, now during spring training is the time to figure those types of things out. So that way, then when you go into the season, okay, I'm ready to go. I have my stance and my swing confidently ready, so that come opening day, I can make the best contact with the ball as I can. So I'm really excited to see him come opening day in Boston. It was definitely very promising to see the way that he hits at JetBlue Park. One thing to look out for is going to be his numbers on the road. Is he going to be able to be as effective in the offense on the road as he is going to be hopefully at Fenway Park? That's definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on as we head into this upcoming season. But in terms of where Alex Bregman is at and his performance on Sunday combined with his leadership ability and what he's already been able to show some of the young guys in his time in Boston so far, albeit very short, he has been able to make an impact in the clubhouse, which is something that I was definitely looking for to see the Red Sox add when they started approaching this offseason with more of a winning mentality. I wanted a veteran leader present to work with some of these younger guys. So hopefully you have guys in the lineup like Casas, Abreu, Rafaela, who can learn from a guy like Bregman in terms of plate discipline and how to maximize all parts of the field and what types of adjustments he's making so that it can project onto them. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm hoping that that's the effect that he brings here in Boston as he progresses through his time here, however long that ends up being. So we'll have to see. I'm Team Bregman. I'm very excited for what he can do. And another guy that I'm very excited about that played really well on Sunday is Garrett Crochet. So that's coming up next. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. It's a great time to be a basketball fan, I promise you, and even other sports as well as we do get closer to baseball season getting underway. So now would be a great time to join FanDuel if you haven't yet, so that you can start to win lots of money right away, because I promise you this could change your life if you take advantage of it. So download the FanDuel app and start placing bets now as early as today, and you can start winning some money and you can thank me later. I'm certainly thanking the Boston Red Sox right now for bringing in Alex Bregman and for really pushing themselves to a place of being uncomfortable to get him and being not afraid to spend money and get a player that hands down will make the Red Sox a better team in 2025. And they didn't only get uncomfortable for Alex Bregman this offseason, they also got uncomfortable when they acquired another guy in Garrett Crochet. And by getting uncomfortable, I mean giving up players that they might have had a hard time giving up. Guys like Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery, very talented prospects who the Red Sox gave up to trade for Garrett Crochet. And we haven't seen the Red Sox make that big of a splash in a long time when it comes to their prospects. And I think for the last few years, we very much were dealing with a front office that wanted to focus their energy on rebuilding the farm system, and they kind of saw a lot of those prospects as untouchable. But now we're sitting here and we got a guy in Garrett Crochet who could truly be an ace for years to come for the Red Sox. They do need to extend him. If you tune into my show from this past Friday, I talked about Garrett Crochet and whether the Red Sox were going to extend him and why they haven't yet. That definitely is something that 100% should be happening, but I do understand if the Red Sox want to wait a little bit during the course of this season to see how he pitches and then go from there. So I really like Garrett Crochet. I'm a huge fan, not only of what he does on the field, but also his work ethic off of it. In all of the interviews that I've heard from him, he has given off so much positive energy in terms of saying, I don't settle for performances. I don't accept performances that are under my standard of excellence of what I'm looking for. I don't accept anything less than a very high-end, talented performance. And I really like that from him. It shows resiliency, and it shows that he goes out there and just wants to sit down the hitters that he's facing. And the best part about Crochet to me is that he's excited to pitch in Boston. He wants to be here. He's reiterated that multiple times. He said, it's great to put on this uniform. I'm really excited to go out there and do my thing on a daily basis and hope that I can give 100% to Red Sox Nation and be able to perform at a level that I want to perform at and that I would be satisfied with. So that type of attitude is definitely needed here. And that attitude certainly showed and rubbed off in his performance on Sunday when he made his Red Sox spring training debut on the mound against the Blue Jays. And he definitely proved why the excitement surrounding him was well warranted. He struck out 4 batters before he was pulled with 2 outs in the second inning. He threw 26 pitches, including a 17-pitch first inning in which the 25-year-old struck out the side. So he was absolutely lights out in that first inning and said, yep, I'm here and I'm ready to go. He allowed 3 hits with 1 walk, but did not allow a run. Then with a runner on second base and 2 outs in the second inning, he induced weak contact from Blue Jays DH RJ Schreck, but Boston wasn't able to record an out on the slow hit ground ball, and that's when he was pulled with runners at the corners. He was told going into the game that he was going to be on a pitch limit, and the Red Sox did say that afterwards, that the reason he got pulled so early in the game was because they were limiting him, which makes sense because it is spring training and it's very early in spring training. You don't want to risk stretching him out and risk injury and then have him not be able to pitch for you come the time that the season starts. So if you're going to limit guys, now is the time to do that, kind of ease him into throwing more and more. So I'm sure in his next outing of the spring, we'll see him pitch a couple more innings maybe and just string together some more pitches so that he's gradually working his way up to pitching at a normal level of depth and how many innings he is providing. So I think that's going to take some time. So I wouldn't take Alex Cora saying he was on a restriction as him being hurt. I think that was more along the lines of we just don't want to push people too early on right now, but he'll have more chances throughout the course of the spring to start to stretch himself out a little bit more. Because the reality at the end of the day is that the Red Sox do need pitchers who can throw deep into games because they've struggled with this the last few seasons with their starters not being able to go very deep into games. And then it backfired on them because the bullpen had to work more. And then as a result, the bullpen wasn't putting up as many competitive numbers because their arms were all fatigued because they had to pitch so much more because their starters weren't able to throw deeper. So that all trickles back to we need guys like Crochet and Walker Buehler and Lucas Giolito to eat innings out of the rotation this year. And I think Alex Cora does have in mind for as many of his starters to throw deeper into games as possible, but they definitely don't want to push somebody too hard right now when it's still so early on in the spring training season. And I don't blame them. I don't want to see guys get injured either. And Garrett Crochet was totally fine with it. He knew that he wasn't going to be pushing himself too much today, but what he did show was very impressive. He featured his powerful fastball that is ridiculously hard to hit. And he also showcased his off-speed stuff by mixing in a cutter and a sweeper in his start in that game. And that's what I really like to see. Now is the time to start mixing in your off-speed pitches and make sure that those are still on point and you're still hitting the strike zone with those so that come the beginning of the season, you're ready to go and you're ready to throw all kinds of different pitches. And one thing that has always stood out to me about Crochet is that ability to have a deep pitch arsenal where he can pull several different types of pitches out of his back pocket and throw it really well. So even though he only pitched into the second inning and we didn't get to see a lot of him in that game, we still were able to see a good mix of what he can bring to the table in terms of his pitch arsenal, and his velocity was definitely there too, getting to the plate very quickly. And I'm very excited for the future with him because a lot of eyes are going to be on him, and a lot of people are calling him the Red Sox ace, myself included, which is a very warranted evaluation because the Red Sox prior to Crochet didn't really have a defined number one starter, and you can make the argument that Tanner Houck maybe was that person, but even so, he didn't really have the consistency of being a true number one starter that could be relied on regularly, especially in the second half of the season. His first half of the season was great, and then he trickled down a little bit in the second half and struggled, but part of that was because the Red Sox were pushing him and he was throwing more innings than what he was used to, so I think that's going to improve a little bit in 2025, but I still don't think he's at the point quite yet now to where he's an ace. And Garrett Crochet can come in and be that ace, and there's not as much pressure on Tanner Houck to have to be that guy, and the Red Sox are totally fine with him being the number two when you have Crochet in the mix as the number one. So I really like that Crochet has a strong pitch arsenal. Andrew Bailey is the type of guy who wants to maximize the off-speed pitches. This was a strategy he used with the pitchers last year, and it's something that I expect to transfer over into this year too. He encouraged them to move away a little bit from their fastballs and use the off-speed stuff a little bit more, because he believes that if you use the off-speed pitches more, you keep opposing hitters on their toes, as opposed to throwing the fastball a lot, and then it's easier for hitters to figure you out. So with Andrew Bailey's strategy of going away from the fastball a little bit and steering more towards the off-speed stuff, I feel like that regime could be really good for a guy like Garrett Crochet, who actually enjoys using his off-speed pitches and is ready to go out there and utilize them for Boston. So I'm glad that he's already starting to get acclimated to that system and that he's trying out his off-speed stuff now. The biggest question mark with him is going to be health, because he has had some problems with staying healthy and he's been on limits with how much he can pitch. And so I'm hoping that when the Red Sox throw him out there, that he doesn't have issues early on with feeling like his arm isn't durable enough to tackle all those innings that he's likely going to be throwing, because the Red Sox, as of right now, don't plan on limiting him in terms of how many innings per start that he's going to throw. So hopefully he's able to handle that type of workload and isn't going to have his arm or shoulder give him problems. So we'll have to see how that goes for him, but very impressive stuff in his short first outing for Boston. And coming up, I'm going to be giving some injury updates on other Red Sox players who are going to be key to the opening day roster. Don't forget that Locked On Red Sox is available on any podcast platform, including YouTube. I am here Monday through Friday to give you all new episodes of the show. You can also follow me on Twitter at Gabby Maljanian. You can follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox. And you can also, after you finish checking out this show, which I am very appreciative that you make it your first listen of every day, you can then check out Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan. That's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts as well. And he'll keep you updated on other things going on around the league. So if you want just exclusively Red Sox talk, that is my show here. But if you want to hear about what's going on with the other teams, definitely check out his show right after this. You can subscribe to that wherever you get your podcasts, and he's also available Monday through Friday. The Red Sox, as they get closer and closer to opening day, they do have some players who are battling some illness or injury right now that are preventing them from being on the field. And Alex Cora did provide some injury updates on some of those players. Jarren Duran was slated to make his spring debut on Sunday, but was a late scratch due to a sore calf. So Roman Anthony got the start at left field in his place. But Alex Cora did reassure us prior to the game that there's no concern with Duran and he should be back soon. Cora said he should be okay during the week. So they don't really feel like it's anything to be worried about long term. He just was feeling some soreness, and they're just going to monitor it throughout the week, but then he should be good to go. Catcher Connor Wong, who has yet to appear in a game this spring so far, has a sore shoulder, but could make his Grapefruit League debut on Monday. Alex Cora also said that's nothing serious. We just have to play it smart with him. So they're basically just taking it day by day, making sure he's okay, but they don't believe it's a serious injury that's going to involve surgery or anything like that. Brian Bayo has also been experiencing shoulder soreness, and he threw up to 90 feet on Sunday and was expected to undergo a strength test. And depending on the results of that test, he could take the next steps towards getting on the mound in the coming days. So we don't have a specific timeline for him yet, but he's taking it easy right now, waiting on his test results, and hopefully the test results come back without anything too alarming so that he can kind of work his way back into getting on the mound again in a live game situation. Lucas Giolito, who was in elbow surgery rehab, is expected to throw live batting practice on Monday. He's expected to be available come opening day, so the Red Sox aren't really concerned about him taking a step back. Everything's kind of followed on the timeline it's supposed to with him so far, so they're really excited to see what he can do for this Red Sox team come opening day. Rafael Devers hit off a pitching machine on Saturday and took ground balls at third base on Sunday. He did grind through that shoulder injury all of last season, and he's ramping up steadily to ensure that he doesn't experience any setbacks. So it's been a slow process for him, but he doesn't want to do too much baseball activity at once and risk the shoulder getting hurt again. He is definitely just trying to keep that under wraps going into the season. Hopefully they didn't say that he didn't need surgery, and then it ends up becoming something that's a longer term issue, and it turns out that he did need surgery. So hoping for the best there, but he should be good to go hopefully soon, as long as everything continues on the right path. Masataka Yoshida, who was on shoulder surgery rehab, threw up to 45 feet on Sunday, and his status for opening day remains up in the air. So they really don't know if he's going to be available for opening day or not. They're still monitoring that, but that comes back to the Rafael Devers thing about him playing third base. If Yoshida is not available come opening day, Devers might not have a choice but to DH and let Bregman play third, because Yoshida right now is the everyday DH. So if they don't have that, they're going to need somebody to step up and be the DH, and Devers is the most logical option for that. So we'll have to monitor this Yoshida situation and see what happens with him and if he's going to even be good to go or not. Wilyer Abreu is battling a viral gastrointestinal illness that has kept him out of action through the first week of camp. Alex Cora did not have another update on that. Basically, they're just waiting for him to feel better so that he can come back and be worked into the lineup during spring training games. It's not like a long-term illness or anything like that. It's just something that he caught probably just in passing in public or whatever. So they're just waiting on him to feel better so that he can come back. But Alex Cora did not provide an update on him on Sunday. Cutter Crawford, as we know, is very much in question to be available for opening day. He said earlier this week that Crawford probably won't be ready after experiencing a setback with his sore right knee. And so basically he explained on Sunday that he was doing well until December. I think it was in the weight room he felt something. All the progress we made for 2 months went down the drain, and we had to start over again. Crawford did first begin experiencing knee pain early last season and pitched through the injury the rest of the way. The hope was an off-season of rest would do the trick, but while he'll likely miss some time in March and April, Cora is still confident that he'll be able to pitch before long. Cora said it's not arm-related. He should be okay. He's just behind. So while we got a pessimistic update in there with him being likely not available for opening day, there's also some optimism in that, knowing that he should be good to go probably after the first couple months of the season or so. So that's definitely promising. Hopefully he's able to come back in May and contribute out of the Red Sox rotation. And also, outside of the injury updates, Alex Cora also gave an update on Monday's game because there's heavy rain expected to impact the Fort Myers area early on Monday. So instead of being played at 1, the Red Sox game against the Yankees later today has been pushed back to 4:05 p.m. instead of 1, which was the usual time. And the game will be televised on NESN and NESN 360 and broadcast on WEEI 8:50 a.m. So because this morning early they're experiencing some bad weather, they just wanted to push the game back to be safe, just to make sure that they had better weather while they were playing the game. So lots of updates there. The key ones I would say to monitor and keep an eye on right now are Wilyer Abreu and Connor Wong and Jarren Duran. Those are 3 players to me who likely will make their spring training debut soon. The Red Sox just have to make sure that they're 100% good to go when they do. But it didn't seem like Cora had any long-term concerns about any of these guys. It's just a matter of making sure they're taking it day by day and that they're on the right track to be fully healthy come opening day. And if it takes not working them into the spring training lineup for a little bit, then that is what it takes. Obviously, they'd rather be healthy for the regular season than be healthy for these spring training games. So lots to think about here as we head closer and closer to opening day. I'm very excited to see what the prospects can do. You have guys like Roman Anthony and Marcelo Mayer and Christian Campbell. And Mayer absolutely smoked the baseball in the first couple spring training games. And I'm really excited to see that continue with him because he definitely was hitting the ball hard. So the conversation about whether he's going to get called up to the majors or not is maybe looking more promising than people think. I'm not saying he'll be on the opening day roster, but I'm saying I would not be surprised if his name comes up in conversation at some point during this season as a guy who could potentially be called up. So keep an eye on Marcelo Mayer as the rest of spring training progresses. Catcher Carlos Narvaez is another guy who stood out to me in spring training early action. A couple absolute cannons to second base in Saturday's spring training game as the backup catcher spot remains open and a question mark as to who's going to fill it. So I definitely was impressed with his performances behind the plate. And he also crushed a baseball in the game on Saturday offensively and was able to showcase what he could do at the plate. So definitely another storyline that we're monitoring as spring training progresses. And then Trace Thompson, Klay Thompson's younger brother, who the Red Sox brought in recently, another prospect who put together some impressive at-bats. So lots to be excited about and look forward to as we navigate through the rest of spring training here. But I'm looking forward to seeing all the action. I hope you are too. As I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.